From the man who demands complete and utter dedication from those he may choose to lead, to the leader of a nation who gets complete dedication at the end of a gun barrel, and the man who may aspire to be the leader of this nation, yet may be on the verge of realizing it's simply too late to jump in. We have not yet been able to prove that the line in Episode 4 of Star Wars, quote, "You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy," unquote, was lifted from a presidential memo at some time in the last several decades. But at times, it does best describe what happens inside the D.C. Beltway. The man who rises above the fray, Newsmax Chief Washington Correspondent from the Rotunda today, John Gizzi, joins us. All right, John, let's go ahead and dig into a little bit of that wretched den, if you will. Interesting how today the U.S. and Russia signed a deal to avoid any air incidents in Syria. But will it really make any difference here? And does this show any sort of future cooperation, or is this just a one-time deal, you think?
I think it's a one-time deal, and I think that one cannot really judge the Russians on this deal fairly when one looks at the way that they've operated in the past. Look, it's been now well over a year, 2 years in fact, that the Russians were going to get Syria, the Assad regime, to ditch its chemical weaponry, and they were going to be the ones who brought peace to Syria at that point. Last time I checked, there wasn't peace, and now they were going in to do Assad's cleaning up operation for him against ISIL, or so they say. What I like to point out is that in Syria, one sees parallels of Chechnya, where the Putin regime said it was going to wipe out Muslim fanatics, and in turn they were taking out some secular leaders who happened to be opposed to Russian hegemony over Chechnya. It's the same thing happening now.
All right. Now, the guy I talked about who gets his loyalty at the end of a gun barrel, Vladimir Putin, you wrote at Newsmax.com, where are the sanctions against Putin's regime? Opponents of the regime are begging America to do something. The White House is absolutely not moving. Why?
Well, again, Josh Earnest, the president's top spokesman, told me that the reason that they have not unveiled any further sanctions against the Putin regime, specifically the oligarchs around the Russian strongman, is they don't want to tip their hand. In other words, stay tuned for further development. That's fair enough. Now, I talked to Vladimir Kara-Murz. He's the Russian dissident, a leader of the opposition party, who nearly lost his life in May when he was poisoned and in a coma for 7 days. He said that the inaction and the delay in putting sanctions against anyone but the lowly level people in the Kremlin is sending a very bad message to the rest of the world that the United States does not want to engage the regime.
All right, I got about 2 minutes left here, and I got two other guys. Here's the one who may or may not want to lead. Paul Ryan, poised to make this decision. Finally, John, it just doesn't seem like his heart is in it, but it doesn't seem as if the other side, anybody is going to say, Mr. Ryan, we're not going to give you complete and utter dedication. This doesn't seem like this is going to happen at all.
No, this is a case simply of nobody wanting to give in. The irresistible force meeting the proverbial immovable object. The conservative members who want reform of the process, and that's what they say, it's process, not policy, want concessions from the next speaker on the committee process and on the handling of legislation. Clearly, Paul Ryan is reluctant to become speaker when he has to give certain concessions to 50 or so members, and it's just not worth it to give up his beloved chairmanship of the House Ways and Means Committee. Right now, sources on Capitol Hill say it's 60-40 against his running. That could change tomorrow, so stay tuned.
And certainly we'll stay tuned to what the Freedom Caucus has in mind, because that's part of the discussion, too, that we will discuss at another time. 60 seconds left. Everybody is still talking about Joe Biden. What's the scuttlebutt you hear on the Hill, in or out?
Okay, I was at the White House today, and questions about the vice president possibly running trumped questions about Justin Trudeau, who became Prime Minister of Canada. Biden trumped Trudeau. Now, that said, increasingly people believe the vice president will make a decision tomorrow or at the Jefferson-Jackson Democratic dinner in Iowa this Saturday. If he's going to announce something this soon, the betting is he's running for president right now. I think he's enjoying himself with all this speculation because he gets all this press by doing absolutely nothing.
John, I'm so glad you said that out loud because it really hasn't been verbalized enough. I think that he really is just enjoying himself at this time, enjoying the limelight. I don't think he's going to run, but then again, what do I know? You're the one inside the Beltway. John Gizzi, always a pleasure. Make sure you read John Gizzi's latest articles at Newsmax.com. Be well, my friend. We'll talk to you real soon. Now, politicians always trade on fear. Everybody knows that. You want fear? I'm going to show you examples of real fear this political season. Show it to you. Coming up next and telling it like it is, right here on the Hardline.